Often when you're working on your design, there will be design elements that reoccur across many artboards. Things like keyboards on a mobile device that might slide up from the bottom, or a menu that drops down from the top. What overlays allows you to do is design that artboard with an interaction one time, and then reuse it across many different artboards. You'll notice here that I have 4 artboards here towards the right. I'll go ahead and move them into view and zoom in a bit tighter so that we can see it. The artboard here on the right side, menu, mobile, is the menu I would like to use for all 3 of these artboards. What you'll notice in the upper left hand corner is they all have a hamburger icon or a menu icon to the left. The behavior I like is when the viewer clicks on the menu here on the left, this mobile menu artboard slides in from the left towards the right. Now I could come in and duplicate all 3 of these artboards with the menu included on them to show the version of the artboard with the menu expanded. But it's a lot of redundant work. So if I want to go make a change to that menu, I would like to make it many times for every example. What I would like to do instead is leverage it across all 3. To do that, I'm going to make sure I'm here in prototype mode. So I will check my mode in the upper left hand corner. It's good to have the layers panel open so that I have that here on the left hand side. Here in the first artboard, the giant collection, I'm going to go ahead and click on the menu area. So when I click, there's a subtitled little rectangle around the hamburger menu icon. I want to click right on that. If you have trouble selecting it, you can click on the giant collection artboard. And then there right on the root is the icon open and icon open group. With that selected, I'm going to press and drag a wire from the trigger point to this destination artboard menu mobile. When I release in the Properties Inspector, we're going to set some different options. The first one is the trigger. I want that to be a classic tap trigger. So when they tap on the menu, I want it to appear. I'll select tap and that drop down. Under action in the type area, I don't want it to be auto animate. Instead, what I want to do is have an overlay behavior. As I select overlay, keep an eye on the giant collection artboard there on the left. When I select overlay number 1, the wire becomes dotted. That lets me know it's an overlay interaction. I have a visual representation of that. The second is on the canvas. I get this big little green selector here with the cross overlay for that selector. What it's showing me is that the artboard that I'm working with, Menu Mobile, happens to be smaller than the destination artboard. It could be exactly the same size, but sometimes overlays, like a keyboard, would need to be smaller than what is being laid on top of the actual full artboard. In that circumstances, what I can do is I wire that artboard to the initial artboard. Is I can come to this handle here in the middle of the green selection area, and I can press and drag. Notice that I get an overlay or a transparent example of that menu, showing me where it will appear on the larger artboard. I'm going to go ahead and press and drag it all the way to the left, and I will release. I've made sure that the close box that here is lined up with the menu here. In the underlying artboard. From there, I'll check some of the other properties that I have defined. I did want to be an overlay for type. Destination is going to be that Menu Mobile. Under animation, I'm going to go ahead and have it slide right. So it's going to come in from the left and move to the right. As you know, I'm a big fan of a snap easing. And for duration, let's slow it down a little bit. We can go ahead and set 0.6 second. It might be painfully slow, but just to play with that. Before we go further, let's just take a look at what we have done so far. So I'm going to come back, select the first artboard in the flow by clicking the giant collection. Here in the upper right hand corner of the application, I'll bring up the desktop preview and click on the play button. Back here in the desktop preview, I have the ability to scroll down on the artboard the way I've done in the past. In this example, I want to just come to the upper left hand corner, and as I hover over that menu, my cursor changes, letting me know that I can click. And when I click and release that, it brings up the menu by sliding it out from the left hand side. What I want to do now is dismiss that overlay. Overlays have kind of an inherent built-in feature. which is that you can automatically click off or dismiss an overlay by clicking outside the overlay area. I can click this close box if I want to. I can link these individual menu items to the individual artboards if I have them. So when you define an overlay artboard, you're welcome to have areas that you might click on. The way a menu ordinarily would instead of that artboard. For now, I'll go ahead and click the close box, which will dismiss and slide that menu back out the way that it came. Okay, now that we have that magic all set, let me show you how you can quickly repeat that or apply it to multiple artboards. I'll go ahead and close out the desktop preview. My monitor is a little cramped for this recording. You can keep yours open if you like, because we're going to need it in a second. Back here on the design canvas, I want to make sure I have the first wire selected. So the one where we define our overlay. So when you define an overlay artboard, that icon open artboard in essence, I want to have that selected. I can see it's selected because I get the little dotted line indicating my tab overlay behavior. With it selected, that I want to do is copy not just the artwork, but the interaction. So this behavior that I'm showing you works in prototype mode. If you were in the design mode and I just copied my hamburger menu and pasted it onto the other artboard, I wouldn't get the same behavior. Only copying and pasting from prototype mode is going to paste the artwork and the interaction. But with that selected, I'm going to be rather careful about it. I will come up to the edit menu and I'm going to select copy. Now that I have that on the clipboard, I want to define the destination. Where do I want to paste those attributes? Here on the design canvas, I'll click off for a moment, and this is a bit tricky. I'm going to click into the second artboard right where the hamburger menu is. So I will click to select it. As we know, I can always go into the layers panel to direct select it. I'm going to hold the shift key now and come to that second artboard to the hamburger menu there as well. And click to select it. Notice I've selected now two different areas on two different artboards. It's a bit tricky, but if you can manage to get this far, I can now come in and apply my work in one fell swoop. You can always do this by copying and pasting one at a time across artboards. With both of these areas selected now, I'm going to come back to the Edit menu. At this time, instead of just paste, I'm going to select Paste Interaction. That is going to paste over the overlay behavior that we define for each of these artboards. Let's juice this up just a little bit more for the fun of it. I'm going to come back to the mobile menu here. And I'm going to click on Chair in my navigation. And actually drag a wire to go to that artboard, the chair detail shuru. A bad thing is going to happen that I don't mind sharing with you. Notice I am dragging this wire. Looks kind of funny, right? What's the reason? The reason is XD is tricky and it's remembering the last wire we defined, which was for the menu, and it was an overlay wire. As I drag this new wire, it's important that I remember when I click here, what I'm looking for is a tab behavior, and that's just going to go in and transition to that other artboard without using any sort of overlay. I just want to dissolve, so a regular transition. I don't need the snap behavior. We'll go ahead to ease in and out. We'll shorten the duration to about 0.2 of a second. Let's do that one more time for the sofa. So I will come here to the sofas area on the menu, mobile artboard. To select it, I'm going to press and drag. And drag that to the sofa detail, for instance, in this example. Let's go see how well we did with the magic. I'm going back to the beginning of the flow and click on that first artboard. And then in the upper right hand corner, click on the play button. Here's my first artboard. As you might expect, come up here on the left to bring up my slide out menu. There it is. I can dismiss it and go back to this artboard here. Or I can go to another artboard, switch over to chairs. By clicking on that in the navigation. There we've got chairs. Go back to my slide out menu, jump over to sofas, and so forth. So I'm starting to get a nice combination of interactivity here, where I have overlays and traditional tab gestures combined on this set of artboards. In the last step of this tutorial, we're going to play with one more trigger type. and that's voice triggers.